Hello, and welcome to SCI Career Talks, where we connect students with professionals sharing their real-world experiences and career journeys. I'm your host, Tallulah Pentecost, and today I'm very excited to be joined by Alicia Alston. Alicia graduated from Rutgers in 1991 with her bachelor's in communications and has gone on to work in the corporate communications sector. And currently, she is the vice president of marketing communications at Quad Marketing Services. Alicia, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with me and talk with me today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. It's really nice to meet you sort of in person.
Great. Yes, yes, thank you. So yeah, we can dive right in. First of all, I would just love if you could give a brief overview of your career journey so far.
Sure. Um, Interestingly, when I was a student at Rutgers, I was also an athlete. So finding internships was a bit more challenging since we can't work during the school year. But I immediately after graduating, or at least after my senior season, I landed a role working in sports PR for the University of Texas at Austin, which it was a job that I absolutely loved, but it was incredibly demanding of my time because you work a regular day and then you work all of the games and the sports in the evenings and the weekends. So it was a huge time commitment, a lot of fun, but a lot of time. From there, I moved to government, where I worked for a state agency for a bit. Um, and then after that, I moved into the nonprofit sector and I worked for a couple of, relatively small and then larger not-for-profit organizations, doing public relations in each of those. I was the first PR public relations director for a small urban environmental organization in northern New Jersey before moving on to the March of Dimes, a national organization, but I headed comms for the northern New Jersey chapter before landing my big girl job in financial services doing PR at Prudential Financial. And I really do see myself as really growing up in the industry and the profession during my time there, where I fully understood not just some of the basic tactical ways of how to do media relations and doing PR, but really understanding comms as a strategic lever for business growth. So I spent over 20 years at Prudential before deciding to take my wares to my next role, um, which is where I am currently, where I head communications, internal and external, for a marketing solutions company that's headquartered in Wisconsin, but I work well remotely most of the time, but sometimes from our office in New York.
Great, that's amazing. Yeah, it's a very inspiring journey. Um, do you think what would you say a normal day on the job looks like for you? If there is a normal.
There is no normal day. It's a very heavy meeting schedule, heavy interactions with, I do a lot of engagement with the C-suite. So I work with the CEO, the CMO, the CFO, all the C folks. I also interact a lot with my own peers, other leaders in the marketing organization, and my team. Uh, so lots and lots of meetings. I probably try to start my day with, really getting into the news of the day, understanding what the big headlines are. Currently, my role is not in as market sensitive an industry as opposed to when I was in financial services, where you're looking at the fluctuations day to day. But there are a lot of shifts and changes that are happening in the world of business and in marketing. Um, and so just trying to keep a beat on what's happening there. I spend a lot of my time during the day just doing consultations and strategy, either with my team, being engaged in discussions with other parts of the organization about issues of the day, be it something around ESG, crisis management, issues management, new product launches, things like that. Um, and yeah, so you very often I'll walk into my home office and think that I'm going to focus on one topic, and it'll be a completely different day based on, whatever's the issue du jour, but that's what keeps the job kind of fun and engaging.
Yeah, yeah. I think that a lot of people kind of have similar experiences today. And so it's great to hear a little bit more about that. And considering how many different, job responsibilities you have to manage and how many, you don't know what each day is going to look like, what are some of the skills, including tech skills, that you think have been most important for you in your career overall or in this job specifically?
I think, well, not technology, but technical skills, writing is fundamental. So it's kind of someone once said to me, "Oh, I love to write. I should work in PR." And I was like, not exactly. Maybe you should write for Reader's Digest." Writing is about as fundamental as if you said, "I want to play basketball." You should be able to run, but that is not the sum total of what's needed there. But writing, storytelling, uh, issues management, and then like strategy, strategic thinking is really huge. And then some of the softer skills that are not as easy to teach, but creativity, curiosity, being relational, being able to connect with a bunch of different peoples on a bunch of different levels at any altitude in the organization, solid judgment. Um, really being able to be calm when you're dealing with crises or other like major issues that may happen. We're in a very interesting time in our country's history where all sorts of issues impact corporations as well, and they're pulled into a lot of social discourse where, 50 years ago that was not the case. So being able to maintain a level head and understanding stakeholders, the understanding who all is impacted by so many different decisions and conversations is also a critical skill. Who needs to know? Um, and then I'd also say increasingly um, fluency with data and understanding how to interpret data and use data to do storytelling is also increasingly important. I will also add, given where we are in 2025, um, a fluency with technology like of course, artificial intelligence. It's completely changing the industry and understanding how to use those tools in a way that is not just for research, but really to use it as a lever because it's really significantly shifting the way the comms industry is operating. That's also a really critical skill for any young person interested in really advancing in communications.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's such an important point about how, all industries are changing so rapidly right now. Economic factors, political factors, technology, like you mentioned, it's all just really important to keep in mind. Shifting gears a little bit, I wonder if you could tell me what your favorite thing is about your career and why, a little bit about that.
Um, Growing up, my mother used to say I was newsy. Nosy. And there's something about having a seat in communications where you do get to see the full scope of the business. You see internally, you see externally. You're looking at things that are related to the people as well as the brand. You're working with executives and junior level staff folks. You're doing all of that work to unify every aspect of the business to create a very holistic story for your company or organization. And it's really necessary to ensure that there's alignment. I love having a seat at a perch that allows me to see very broadly across the organization. My current role sits in the marketing function. And what I find is many of my peers that may be sitting at brand or product marketing, they don't see the full breadth and depth of the organization in the same way that I might. They're seeing very client focused, very brand heavy, and mostly externally focused. Whereas, my team and I, we get to see things that are happening, everything from, M&A and divestitures to the investor relations work that we do to tell our story to the street, to the what employees may need to know, everything from their benefits to, closures, or if there's, things that are happening in society that may be impacting their workplace. So we're seeing everything that's happening across the organization in a really fulsome way. And I love that because it allows me to connect dots in a very different way. It's also critical to be able to ensure that we are making the right connections and the timing for certain announcements don't conflict. We don't find ourselves conflicting with ourselves as we're out in the marketplace or even as we're talking to employees. It's really challenging to talk about we're a great place to work on the same day that you're having a massive riff. So, internally and externally, making sure all of those stories line up is so critical. And, I do sort of like being able to see the full breadth and depth of what's happening around the company.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a wonderful description. It's certainly I'm not involved in communications at all, but it certainly makes it appealing. Um, and so for other students who might be watching this video who are or aren't yet interested in communications and marketing, do you think you could give some advice for people who would like to get where you are?
Um, I say to any young person or mid-career person that curiosity, just curate your own curiosity, like nurture that. It's critical. Being able to ask smart, insightful questions that advance an agenda and ensure that you're moving the proverbial ball down the court, sports metaphors. Um, I also think that where you can get diversity of experience, really being able to get more variety in your industry experience is very helpful. Understanding a variety of stakeholders, like different kinds of clients, that it's very, very different working in a marketing organization than one that is highly regulated, like healthcare or financial services, and the liberties that you're able to take in one versus the other, both incredibly critical kinds of skills to know and understand, but they're very different. And the ability to bring that expertise in um, is really helpful as you try to balance sort of breadth and depth. Um, for young people, I would say get as much breadth as possible, like work across as much as you can. And when you find yourself in mid to later career, start thinking about depth of expertise. Like, so where do you really want to dig in? Um, and learn a lot more because as you get to be an older person like me, some of that sets in. But so I have, I consider myself a strategic generalist. I know a little bit about a lot of things, and I'm able to help my team, which is really built with a bunch of specialists, to be stronger in their disciplines because they're able to do more. And the last piece that I would always suggest is honing your network and connections. The best jobs are not posted. And so people you'd be amazed at roles that senior leaders would create for you in your own expertise or roles that you'll learn about through your networks and connections. So I am a big, big believer in casting a super wide net with lots of different folks from lots of different industries, even if they are not like what would we ever have in common? You'd never know who people know. So I'm just a big believer in keeping a network strong and long and knowing in that network sort of who's in your front row, who are the people that you absolutely do need to go to for counsel and straight talk feedback.
Yeah, I mean, that's wonderful advice. I think something that current students might not realize that they should be doing is growing their network because we're only students, but really it's something that's going to be very helpful in our careers moving forward. And I really like what you said, curate your curiosity. That's a great catchphrase.
Yeah,
Um,
and I might add for students too, I think very often young people look up as opposed to looking
mm,
across.
mm.
And particularly for our Rutgers alum, we're in school with amazingly talented people that will go on to do fantastic things. And I often caution, I even caution my own children, don't just look at the people above you, look at the people alongside of you because those are going to be the rock stars as you all be like advance in your careers. And it'll be great to know them. So don't spend so much time looking up that you're not making those peer networks across, because those are going to likely be the ones that are most valuable.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would just like to open up the floor for you now if there's anything else, any other comments you'd like to make.
I will just say for any young person to just take advantage of all of the resources that are on campus for you. I am learning actually now as an alum just how many resources are available through Sky. Absolutely mind-blowing. And there's so many resources that are available on campus to learn more about potential careers, connect with humans that are doing work that you find interesting, or even to step outside of your comfort zone altogether and learn about other careers. And if there's just so much that's available, I strongly encourage students to to talk to career counselors and advisors and just learn as much as they can about what's available to them on campus because the resources just seem endless to me now. And I'm like, why didn't I take advantage of that as a kid? But I strongly recommend just, as much as you can, absorb all that you can in from the schools.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you again for taking the time today to talk with me. It's been wonderful. Yeah, anything else that you'd like to say?
No, I just want to say thank you so much for reaching out to me. This was fun.
Thank you. Thank you.